Welcome back to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Hopefully you can hear me. Of course, things gotta be wacky. I do apologize for that bizarre start. Tech problems are part of the charm, I like to think. Okay. Hello, Wireless Mike, Wicked, Foxy, Dragon, Fix, hello. And hopefully we'll have the other folks showing up as well. Oh, by way of explanation, Girl Pal Jake's going to be just a little foggy in the head. Here's why. If you didn't hear, I, following all this Trump stuff, having trouble sleeping. One thing after another was coming out. I wanted to hear about it all as soon as it happened. Couldn't go to sleep, so I thought, or rather, I found some the generic over-the-counter sleep aid medicine. Thought, all right, I'll take a little of that. You're supposed to take 2 teaspoons or tablespoons. It really doesn't matter because I have the brain of a 1940s bartender, and for some reason, saying it out loud now, I understand it's insane. I read that as 2 fingers. So I filled up this glass pretty generously, and there is currently, first of all, it works great. Second of all, there's currently a small war being held between the espresso and the leftover, the remnants from the over-the-counter brand sleep aid that I drank like it was fruit punch. Mm-mm, don't recommend it. But I did get some sleep. Mike is really bad audio. But let's fix that. Let's fix that. This I think we can do something about. Oh, that's not good. So we're using the camera audio. Interesting. That is going to be truly terrible. Let's see if we can't fix this. Tell you what, we're going to go to the live stream. We're watching this through USA Today's. Why am I talking this? We're watching this through USA Today's live stream. We're just going to pop in and out. Why not? Let me turn that on for you. And I will, in the meantime, fix my audio. But we are watching as Donald Trump prepares to be indicted with federal charges. I can't wait. We'll be back with proper audio. Here is Donald Trump in trouble with the crowd outside the courthouse.
And bit by bit, we're back to normal. What a wild stream so far. It'll probably help if that's plugged in proper. Hey, all right. Well, no, for the record, there is no audio with that USA Today live stream. I can only apologize. Hi, how's everyone doing? How's the audio? Are you liking it? Is it sounding normal again? You know, assuming all continues to go miraculously as it's gone, one day there will be a tech person who handles all of this stuff. And you all will be talking about the crunchy old days. Not the good old days, just the crunchy old days. Where things were real, let's call it, earthy. Oh man. I'll tell you what, though. Audio problems, don't care. Video problems, don't really care. Nothing. Accidentally drugged myself, don't care. Nothing can knock me down today. Because that orange son of a bitch is getting indicted. Ah-cha-cha! Ooh, I'm excited. Ooh, we got T-minus 7 minutes until it is scheduled to happen, which means we probably have like 37 minutes until it actually happens. We're standing by. I'm going to look and see if we can maybe get a little bit of coverage. Let's see here. Trump indictment live. Ooh, I do like I'm tempted to hear what Fox has got to say about it. Yeah, what the hell? Let's pop over to Fox. Oh, but see, no one's going to have audio because they're all using the same feeds. Oh, well. I was hoping we get some talking heads. Oh, wait, CBS. There you go. Oh, this is a problem. Tell you what, are you guys hearing audio from this? ABC is covering it, so is CBS. Okay. Cool. All right, we're going to use CBS then. Hop over there. Grab this. Put it here. What the hell? I may as well record this. For posterity.
Two tracks going simultaneously, compiling evidence even as this moves to trial. And there's that looming possible indictment in Georgia. So what they're trying to do, whether it's in Fulton County, Georgia, or with the special counsel in Washington, is see if there will be any cracks with some of these witnesses. Someone like Walt Nauta. He's now been indicted and processed in federal court. Does he start to reveal more as the pressure mounts? We've seen this in Trump investigation after Trump investigation. The government has one real weapon, and that's time, patience, to see if people will break and start to talk.
Well, if you all are just joining us, hello, and we're covering the first proper indictment of Donald Trump. This is in the documents case. Let's listen in to what CBS has to say. There's Walt Nauta. When I sat down in recent weeks with Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer, he regaled me with stories of the past when you're in Donald Trump's inner circle, you're sitting on a plane that's called Trump Force One, and some of the accoutrements in the plane, even the bathroom, some of the facilities in gold. And it's a lifestyle
for some of these aides around Trump that's enthralling.
It's like a cartoon of what somebody thinks a president is like. Trump Force One, really? With gold toilets? A gold toilet is pretty much the perfect way to summarize who Donald Trump is.
And really laying out on the line what's on the, if you look at the back of this indictment, what does it have? Prison sentences. And we're not talking about a few months, we're talking about a few decades.
Mercy.
Robert Costa, thank you. Talking about Walt Nauta, who served 20 years in the U.S. Navy, worked in the mess at the White House, because the Navy runs the mess at the White House, and then became very close with Donald Trump, and then retired from the Navy and has stayed with the president at Mar-a-Lago. John Dickerson.
May I add just a point back to Eileen Cannon, the judge who will have this matter before her. Possibly favorable to the former president, but we should also remember that previously when she ruled, she was overturned by the appeals court. And when they overturned her decision, they mentioned, the appeals court did, what you mentioned earlier, is the concept of no one is above the law. And the appeals court said in her previous ruling that if her previous ruling were to stay, it would create a special exception which would defy our nation's foundational principle that our law applies to all without regard to numbers, wealth, or rank. So
she has demonstrated a lack of judgment for a judge. So not only do I think she should have immediately recused herself in this, frankly, I don't see how we can go on letting her judge others. I truly don't know what the process is for removing somebody from that position, but we should start it. She has demonstrated that she does not have the judgment necessary for that job. And I don't see how you could, if you're the next person who's in her courtroom, I don't see how you could accept a ruling from her. Because she's not making her judgments based on what the law says. Bizarre.
While the judge has tremendous amount of authority, there is also an appeals court above that has already looked at this question of whether a president should have special favor and ruled against the judge. So that is a part of important context here.
Thank you for that. And CBS News has just learned that Trump has entered the courtroom with his lawyers. This is about 50 minutes after being booked. Also in the front row is the special counsel, Jack Smith, and this arraignment hearing has begun. Again, this is the federal courthouse here in Miami, right behind us. That noise that you hear are mostly supporters of Donald Trump who have gathered at some points shouting, "We want Trump." Most of them have on their red, white, and blue outfits in their Trump regalia, here hoping to catch a glimpse of Donald Trump, but we may never see him because he pulled into the garage below this large office building behind us. We should point out that we understand that Donald Trump is in a ceremonial courtroom on the 13th floor, which is about directly across from the law offices where we are. Extraordinary to think Donald Trump now facing these federal charges against him, which are very serious, and even as he does not have a full legal team in order to defend him and for what is expected to be a speedy trial, unless they're able to file these motions to delay things.
Which we know they will do, and then it really that does come down then to the judge.
Mm-hmm. But to build on some of the things that you talked about here, that indictment, you know, we've all read indictments in the past, but there's something sort of unique about that one in that it reads like a novel. There are a lot of specifics in there, and I've talked to sources in law enforcement who anticipated some of the questions.
I'm going to jump ahead here.
To August 2022.
Oh, that's a useful graphic. All right, we're going back.
$200,000 to join Mar-a-Lago. But this private club hosted 150 events from January 2001 to August, 2021 to January 2020-21, which is when Trump left office, to August 2022, there were 150 events. We're talking about weddings, fundraisers, you name it. We're talking about more than 10,000 people. There's Mar-a-Lago right there. So they were first in the white and gold ballroom. Well, then they had to move that. Sometimes they were in the lake room. Then they went to the Trump family suite in Pine Knoll, but then they needed to put staffers there. So then Trump ordered the storage area to be cleared out. Well, that storage area is right by a door that's right by the pool where everybody hangs out and right by where they keep all the liquor.
Right.
So it's an area where there's lots of staff that work on that property. It's a resort. It's a club, you know.
Don't forget, accused spies went in there. A lady with a thumb drive, a Chinese national who we could not prove in a court of law was officially spying for the Chinese government. Nonetheless, a resident of China was caught sneaking into Mar-a-Lago with a thumb drive that had malware on it. It's bad, you guys. It's not good. I know I don't like Trump personally. I know I'd be delighted if he went to jail, if he went to prison for 20 years on a traffic ticket. Even though I would argue against it on general principle, I'd still be happy about it. But this is an actual, genuine security concern, at least in my humble opinion. You cannot have people being this cavalier with this stuff, and he is an obvious target. His stupidity is obvious to the rest of the world. The only people that don't think he's an absolute mouth-breathing moron are the 74 million Americans that voted for him. Everybody else, including spies around the world, see that guy as a target, and I think it's been open season on U.S. secrets via Mar-a-Lago.
He was using to settle scores, to show off, not what the intelligence agencies put these documents together for.
Well, and again, this is a former president of the United States. This isn't some low-level, entry-level employee of the NSA, CIA, FBI. This is the former president of the United States, who also, by the way, has the finances to build a skiff.
Yeah, but there have been former national security aides. Sandy Berger comes to mind, who brought a document out in his sock and
but not that many documents.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, for lesser charges. Yeah. So let's bring in Robert Costa on this matter, because Robert, I know you have been to Mar-a-Lago as well, and the idea about these documents being moved around the property numerous times, which are the texts that are detailed in this indictment between Walt Nauta and another.
For the record, the main issue, though, is not the security leak. That's bad. I'm just saying that to grind salt into the wound, because it is something we should consider in the grand scale, in the grand scheme of things. But it is the principle of the thing. It is, are we a nation of law and order? At the end of the day, did he have permission to have those documents? I don't care if it was a pack of Post-it notes. Did he have permission to have them? No, he did not. And he didn't give them back. So do we respect the law here or not? Does being Donald Trump get you a pass on the rules? If the answer is no, gavel's got to fall on this guy. Guilty. And if we decide that the answer is yes, congratulations. We are officially back to being a nation that has royalty, and we chose the shittiest king possible.
I want to go now to Scott McFarland, who has just come out.
I talked over the ladies. I apologize.
New information. Scott?
Moments ago, through his attorney Todd Blanche, former President Trump pleaded not guilty to these 37 federal charges. And Todd Blanche, in fact, said the former president is, quote, most certainly pleading not guilty. The former president sat in navy blue suit, red tie, hunched over at the table, his hands folded at first, then his arms folded, expressionless, not saying a word. It was his defense attorney who stood and said he's not guilty to these charges. The proceedings are ongoing. They're going to talk about release conditions. They're going to talk about future scheduling, the dates of the next hearings. But before the hearing began, the former president was booked. He was processed. Digital fingerprints taken. No booking photo. The marshals deemed it unnecessary. They think there's enough photos of Donald Trump out there to use for the purposes of his prosecution. There's a ongoing proceeding, Nora, that'll take about 4 or 5 more minutes, and ultimately the former president's expected to leave soon after.
I mean, I cannot fault them for that. Do you know what Donald Trump looks like? Yes or no? I mean, we don't need to do the booking photo just to... I'm all for doing things by the book, but that also includes not creating busy work for any worker, including the officer in charge of yada yada. Didn't know they were doing digital fingerprints these days. Me and my pals haven't been in trouble, in proper trouble, in a long time. Interesting, though. And there was a little part of me that thought he might plead guilty.
Off to a district judge, referred to Donald Trump multiple times in court as former President Trump, not as the defendant, not as Mr. Trump, not as Trump, but as former President Trump.
As in no longer.
It's a beautiful courtroom. Chestnut wood walls about the size of a small school cafeteria, royal blue carpet. The former president had a stack of papers in front of him at the defense table, but no pen, wasn't writing, wasn't talking, just sat expressionless, kind of hunched over, hands on the table, then arms folded. His attorney, Todd Blanche, was occasionally whispering things in his ear, but this was a moment the former president knew was happening outside the view of cameras. The federal courthouse is a ban on cameras. He is largely
Why? That makes no sense.
Operating and acting invisibly in this courtroom. The Judge Jonathan Goodman gavelled this into session right on time, right about 3 o'clock here on the East Coast.
Why does this guy look
it
like
should
an
be
insult
over in
comic?
short order.
So, Scott, Donald Trump has been inside this federal courthouse for more than an hour now. What's been happening? What do you expect has to be done before he leaves?
Well, he's only used racial slurs 3
Well,
times,
they booked
so he's on
him
his best
in
behavior.
the courthouse itself. From what CBS News has been told from law enforcement officials is that they booked him here in an office space inside the courthouse, either out of convenience due to the significant security in and outside the courthouse, or potentially for everybody's safety. Oftentimes in this district of Florida, they'll book you in a different building and bring you from the courthouse over to there. They did it right in an empty office space inside the courthouse. He arrived, according to the marshals, about an hour in advance of getting into the courtroom. They took those fingerprints. They took his social security number, his birth date, all the things you get from a criminal defendant for the booking process. As I mentioned earlier, no booking photo in this case, but Donald Trump has an official case number. It's 23-CR80101. Quite a thing for a former president to have a federal criminal case number. He has been assigned a pretrial services officer.
There's going to be people that get that tattooed.
All history in the making here at the federal courthouse in Miami. We expect to hear before the proceeding ends, likely in the coming minutes, what release conditions have been ordered for the former president. What restrictions will he be under?
They better say that he is not allowed to keep being a stochastic terrorist. That needs to be addressed. Toot sweet.
Which was earmarked for West Palm Beach, Florida. The courthouse nearest Mar-a-Lago actually remained here in Miami. This is a huge, cavernous courthouse that has, I think some people would argue, the security footprint necessary for court hearings and potentially a trial of a former president. It will most certainly be an attraction.
All right, I don't really care about the anti-corporatists. Have a good rest. Lord knows I sympathize. I'll be joining you soon in Dreamland. I'll tell you though, I want to read some of these. Wireless Mike Defendant 45. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Zix, too bad. I think I'd pay for a trading card of an actual orange mugshot. Oh my God, right? Mars Falcon, chestnut walls and blue carpet. Oh. Wireless Mike, arms folded like a petulant child, as usual. Yes, indeed. Wicked Foxy Dragon, I'm happy he didn't have a temper tantrum. Yeah, look at that. Unusually mature. Because he's got no damn choice.
Next to Nada at the defense table was Todd Blanche, the New York City-based defense attorney for Donald Trump, who's also representing him in that Manhattan prosecution. Then there's Donald Trump, navy suit, red tie, papers in front of him, hands folded, saying nothing. On the far right of that table is the other attorney, Chris Kise. At the prosecution, or the special counsel table, you had David Harbaugh, the special counsel staffer who spoke today, and Jay Bratt. The rows behind the special counsel table included the special counsel himself, Jack Smith, and a number of media members. Behind the defense table, a whole series of media members, and several members of the public who won a lottery to get a seat in the courthouse and in the courtroom for this unique, historic day.
Jeff Pegues is here as well, and I know has some questions for you, Scott.
Scott, we know how much Scott loves courtrooms. He was in the courtroom for the Manhattan case as well. And so I was wondering if you could contrast and compare in terms of the former president's demeanor. How did he look today? What was his demeanor, especially if you compare it to the video that we saw at the arraignment in New York City in early April?
Identical, Jeff. Same mannerism, same body language, same expression on his face. And we had an advantage of perspective today. We were in the overflow room where there was a video feed giving us a head-on picture of Donald Trump. Those in the courtroom only saw the back of his head. We could see his face. We could see his expression. The overflow room is actually the jury meeting room here with 300 seats and a few tiny televisions, so small, the kind of televisions you get in a low-cost hotel room. We watched this on TV and through a feed, and we could see.
Can you imagine?
Donald Trump sitting, no expression, nothing to say, idle at the table with his hands folded.
Can you imagine being one of the people that got to be there? Oh, literally witnessing history.
Scott, we know South Florida has a reputation of being one of those areas where court cases move quickly through the system. What do you expect in terms of the progress of this case? Is this something, because we know prosecutors want a speedy trial, do you think they'll get what they want?
Jack Smith has already articulated that. He said so much during his news conference last week that he is going to seek a speedy trial. You're right. This is one of those districts in America, the Southern District of Florida, which is known as a rocket docket, a place where cases move expediently compared to other federal courts in America.
Ooh, that's what I want to hear.
But so much of this is going to be up to the parties. Does the defense choose to slow this down? Does the defense choose to file motions to potentially delay things or make this case move more sluggishly? That's going to be in the hands of the parties, but this case is still earmarked for Judge Eileen Cannon. We learned that today in the arraignment. Judge Cannon, based in Fort Pierce, Florida, a ways to the north of here. She, of course, was a Trump appointee. You may recall her name. She was the judge who oversaw litigation and challenges to the search warrant last year.
I'm going to have to look into this. Who can intervene there? And why on earth wouldn't Jack Smith insist that she not take it? Eileen Cannon, I'm not going to call her honorable anything. She's not. She doesn't deserve to be a judge at all. She certainly shouldn't be trusted with this. And it's not just the defendants that have rights in that courtroom. You and I do as well. We have a right to have our interests looked after, which means that I think we have a reasonable expectation to not have Eileen Cannon being the judge of this incredibly important case. Not sure what to do about that. I'll keep an eye on it, though, because for God's sake, that's a disgrace.
Voted against impeaching Trump in relation to the Capitol assault, but she did not condemn his actions. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I want to ask you, did you read through the whole 49-page indictment?
I absolutely did. I tried to
there's a
educate
change of
myself
pace.
on what's actually happening, but I have to be honest with you. And I'm someone, I've had my ups and downs with Donald Trump over the years. That's been very public, but I just can't get beyond the fact that the precedent for how we handle classified information was first set when the DOJ and the FBI decided not to indict Hillary Clinton, who had a private server, who had classified information on that server, who obstructed justice, wasn't even president, wasn't even a...
To be clear, no, she did not obstruct justice. To be further clear, we are talking about Donald Trump. If you can prove that Hillary Clinton did something illegal, take her to court. But you don't give one criminal a pass just because you believe another criminal got a pass. That is anarchy.
Of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is the willful retention of documents, as is laid out, and a question of obstruction. That the president repeatedly was told about his actions, and he repeatedly obstructed justice. You see any distinction there?
Well, I will say today, when I watch what's happening in this country, the FBI had access to all those boxes in every single room, and the precedent was set under Clinton that she would not be indicted. I think it's worthwhile to have a conversation about how we handle classified information post-presidency.
Sure.
I think that is a worthwhile debate because we want to protect our nation's secrets, okay? I want to get that off the bat. But the precedent was set under Clinton. She had a private server. I can't think of anything more willful than hiding a server in your bathroom in your home. I can't think of anything more willful than using hammers on your own telephone, cell phone devices, and your iPads to obstruct justice and then to be let off. And so if that's the standard, then it should apply to everyone, including Donald Trump.
But clearly you don't think that should be the standard. That's the argument that you're trying to make. So you believe that Hillary Clinton should be held to a different... You think Hillary Clinton should be held to a higher standard, and so then you must also agree, therefore, that Donald Trump should be held to that same high standard.
Thank you.
But that's not the standard, because under Hillary Clinton, she was let go. She was not indicted. She had classified documents on her server. They tried to obstruct it, and she was able to walk away. So if that's the standard, then you had Mike Pence, who had classified documents in his home. Then you had Joe Biden, who had classified documents spread across the country in different boxes, including unsecured in his garage. If Trump's going to be indicted, so too then should be Joe Biden. I also can't get beyond the fact that every time we find corruption, evidence of corruption on Joe Biden, Donald Trump gets indicted. I mean, that's what I see just as an everyday American, as someone who hasn't seen eye to eye with Donald Trump, and that's how we're going to operate.
For an
I don't
excuse.
think it's the right way, and I think it's shameful.
So what about
what's
everything?
today.
If you hold on.
Congresswoman, I understand
this gal's
you
doing a great
represent
job.
the 1st District of South Carolina, which is the suburban areas of north and east of Charleston, and you served on the Armed Services Committee, right? How many military members do you represent?
We have about half of all the bases.
How many members of the military?
Boom.
I'd have to go back and look, but about half of all the bases in the state of South Carolina reside in the low country of South Carolina, the area that I represent.
How would you rate the importance of protecting those members who serve in the military that are in your district and in the state of South Carolina?
Protecting our national security should be a top priority. But Donald Trump is held to a different standard than our own president today, by anybody else, and even Hillary Clinton, who was able to walk away by obstructing justice, and the Justice Department and the FBI said she did nothing wrong. So if that's the standard, then why is Donald Trump treated differently? At the end of the day, I think that's why, or where, the average American is going to see this headed. It's not the same standard to indict him but not indict anybody else. Now, I think we should protect our national secrets.
I also understand, is it true that
classified information that are unsecured, but Joe Biden had classified information in his garage, unsecured, sitting next to his Corvette, and God knows where else in this country. So he should be indicted or be.
Where is that information now?
To return it.
And Congressman, what happened to that information when it was revealed?
Hopefully it's been collected by
immediately collected.
Right, but he had over
once they found out about it, they returned it.
Of information, including classified documents. So that's the standard.
Look at that.
I think Donald Trump's
accountability.
being treated unfairly here.
So I was asking you about your. I hear you. I was asking you about your district, though. Don't you want to talk about your district? I was asking you about your district.
Yes, and I answered
understand.
Your question,
so, does your district include Joint Base Charleston?
All the bases, if you'd let me speak,
oh
I said
my
about
God,
half of all the
Nancy
bases
Mace.
in South Carolina are in the low country of South Carolina. That I represent on the House Armed Services Committee. I've said it like
and
3
how
times
important
now.
is it to preserve
I don't know
nuclear?
if you can hear me or not.
Jesus
How important?
Christ.
I am having a little trouble hearing you. Sorry, Congresswoman. It is
That's
quite
what I
loud
thought.
here, so my apologies.
Oh, God. So awkward.
And how important is it in terms of safeguarding America's nuclear secrets?
It is very important. It is of the utmost importance to protect our nation's secrets, period.
And so if, as was alleged, there were documents that contain America's nuclear secrets in a storage room, in a bathroom, or in a ballroom, would that concern you?
It would absolutely concern me. But again, the FBI had access to those documents, they had access to those boxes, and they had access to all those rooms as well.
Congresswoman, the FBI did not have access to those documents. There was a subpoena for those documents, and then the attorneys for Donald Trump said that they had given all of the documents over, when then that was not true, and then they had to have a raid.
I remember last summer
Thank you so much,
it was reported in
Congresswoman.
open source
I apologize about the audio issues.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, and with the sass at the end. All right, let's take a break. She did a great job there. This gal did a fantastic job. Zix, good to have you here. Thank you for stopping by. Are we watching Fox feed? No, this is CBS. I actually thought she did a fantastic job. Wicked Foxy Dragon says David has Luke interviewing people. Ooh, boy. Let's check that out. I'm looking forward to the professional douche video. He is there. All right. Yes. Let us for sure check out the David Pakman stream. We'll have a quick look. Ah, never mind. Luke's off. Oh, well. Yes, who is that host? I'm not sure. I don't recall. You'd think I would know her. She seems very familiar. No, it's not coming to mind. Let's read some chat, though. Are more equal. You can never prove something didn't happen. That's like trying to prove God doesn't exist. Yeah. Wicked Foxy Dragon says David was recommended by another member. Ooh, fair enough. All right, we'll have a peek in. We'll have a quick gander. And give him the traditional thumbs up. There it is. All right, we'll watch a little Pac-Man. And do a little justice on that audio.
You've been great spending so much time.
I do think that this entire case is avoidable.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good thing for you to say, that you think it's avoidable. And we appreciate your time, sir.
That is a personal tragedy.
Thank you so much, Tim. We do appreciate you spending so much time. Let me go to Neil Katyal because we don't know. And we're hoping one of our other folks will come out of the courtroom and give us some idea of what happens next and what the magistrate had to say. But what are...
All right, so we're standing by for that press conference, very importantly. Let's get to a few other super chats that are coming in. Chakaseki saying, when can we have a Luke Beasley liberal cluck co-stream? That could be a while. It could be a while to...
Look, I do love David Pakman, but there's only so many boxes and boxes we can do. I'll jump over to that MSNBC stream as well. I gotta tell you, folks, just about my favorite time of the year is any time of the year that Donald Trump is facing accountability for his actions. It turns out it's like the seasons. You get about 4 a year. Certainly much less than we ought to have. But man, when it comes, it's like a little mini Christmas to me. Let's listen in on this NBC stream. Excuse me.
nature of the attorney-client relationship in this.
Oh, don't want that. Definitely don't want that. Good Lord.
This, 2 lawyers is not enough. Obviously, people at home might be wondering how unusual this is. You need a team for a case like this, as Danny was explaining, to go through the mountain of evidence that prosecutors have amassed and to be able to file motions, to write motions, to be able to argue this case as robustly as he's going to need. You really need a long bench for this.
And yet the special prosecutor has got out and said we want a speedy trial.
Yeah.
Is that something that generally works in the prosecution's favor?
Well, it's interesting. Normally, the right to a speedy trial is for the defendant, obviously, to hold the prosecution's feet to the fire. In this case, you're right. We've heard Jack Smith say that, but it's not really going to be up to him. Again, it's going to all come back to this judge. I know we've talked about it a lot today, but I can't emphasize enough how much power she wields in terms of the timeline.
She really shouldn't have any.
And will she pick up in the initial hearings? Or obviously, a magistrate today.
Yes, now it's out of the magistrate's hands. As soon as they leave today, we will not see him back in front of this magistrate judge. It'll be in front of Judge Cannon.
All right, let's bring back Frank Fuguzzi. He's a former assistant director.
Okay, so yeah, Eileen Cannon shouldn't have anything to do with this case. I don't know if Jack Smith has made any objections. Bear in mind, if he does and his objections are ignored, then he's got an angry judge to deal with. So there might be some strategy there, but oof, makes me nervous.
Factor in the potential complications involved whenever classified material is part of the prosecution strategy. And the indictment clearly indicates that at least 31 documents are part of the charges. In fact, each one of those 31 documents constituting a charge of willful, unlawful retention of national defense information. So that the national security community, the intelligence community, has been scrambling with a damage assessment, but yet has had to agree, sign off on the use of those 31 highly classified documents for this prosecution in some way, shape, or form. So how will that delay things potentially? Well, you're talking about defense attorneys getting cleared. You're talking about operating sometimes in a SCIF, which, by the way, the Miami Federal Building has a secure facility for classified information. And you're talking about exposing citizens, jurors, to some classified information. The other thing that intrigues me really about this indictment is about what's not in it, because we know that the search warrant by the FBI on Mar-a-Lago produced 102 classified documents, yet only 31 were chosen for the prosecution purposes. So why is that? And
most likely because those are the slam dunk ones.
Not chosen are even at a higher concern in terms of sensitivity, and the intelligence community agencies that may have said to the prosecution, this can never see the light of day. You cannot go with these. And that would be stunning because the ones in the document are highly sensitive.
So the short version of why they would pick the ones they picked, my understanding is you don't need to get this guy on every single thing. You need to get him on a sufficient amount to reflect the seriousness of the crime. And those documents that they chose are the ones that are going to be easiest to prove, I assume, because those are the ones that Walt Nauta moved from point A to point B to keep out of the eyes of Trump's own attorneys, who are now having to testify against him. And a lot of this case is becoming a lot more clear because we now see all these different elements coming together, including the attorneys having to testify. What was that about? Well, Trump was lying to the attorneys. Why is it a conspiracy charge? He had Walt Nauta moving these documents before the attorneys would do searches. The case will be built around that general behavior. Most likely these 31, however many documents, are related to those events. Seems to be the way Jack Smith is going. The one thing I truly don't understand, why in hell isn't he kicking and screaming about Eileen Cannon? That's baffling to me.
All right, we'll continue to monitor this picture for signs that the Trump motorcade is leaving. And toward that, a busy night still ahead for the ex-president, Kristen Welker. He's going to continue to make his appeal to the court of public opinion.
He certainly is, Lester. He's going to return to his Bedminster resort. We anticipate we'll hear from him later on this evening. And I can tell you, in talking to sources inside Trump world, there is a defiance that I anticipate will be on display tonight. All of the things that we've seen on Truth Social, we will likely hear tonight when the former president steps in front of the podium. He will reiterate likely all of those familiar.
All right, let's see what y'all are talking about. Are more equal. I'm for age limits in government in order to have more turnover. Our government was meant to have turnover. Yeah, I agree. Wireless Mike, Fox's coverage would be comical if it weren't so damaging to the brains of their regular viewers. Oh, you're right. You're right. In fact, why not? I will admit, there is a dark pleasure. I'm not giving that a thumbs up. There's a dark pleasure in watching the lead propaganda channel for the right wing do its thing. Honestly, the one unknown for today was whether or not this guy was going to plead or not. He's pled not guilty. Mighty bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it pans out.
A similar case that President Biden is facing, where classified documents were retrieved by investigators from his former office in Washington, D.C. when he was vice president and after his vice presidency at UPenn there at the Biden Center and at his home in Wilmington. Robert Hur is his name. We've been now 5 months or 6 months since that appointment was made. Where do you see that going in all of this? Do you think Robert Hur is going to take a similar tack to what
Biden
Jack Smith did? Do you think they're going to drop it like they did in the Pence case here? Because that is still ongoing right now.
This is the Corvette document case that we're all talking about. Yeah. We saw the documents in the Corvette.
You all are, sure.
It's really a thing that is a big problem for Biden. He looks terrible on this. Why do you have documents in a Corvette? Like, first of all, I think it's a disrespect to Corvettes everywhere that you're trying to work in a Corvette.
Ooh, they're
I have a rule that you only let your hair go blowing in the Corvette. You don't work in a Corvette. But more importantly, it showed sloppiness. It showed recklessness. And it's so important for people to realize that, yeah, Garland appointed a special counsel there, too. Garland is playing by the book. He says, hey, Trump political adversary, appoint special counsel. Biden, political ally, appoint special counsel. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
True.
And I think that he's beyond reproach in what's going on. Now to your question about what Robert Hur is going to do, it's not going to be like we're seeing with Jack Smith. I could tell you that already. It's going to be like we saw with Robert Mueller. Why is it going to be like Mueller? Because the DOJ has a policy memo that you do not indict a sitting president. So Biden's real issue is based on his age and his longevity, how he is when he gets out, when he becomes the former president, whether it's going to be at the end of this this president cycle or the next one thereafter. He could very well get indicted at that point.
Okay, that's not true, but we can still use this. I do not like the Office of Legal Counsel's opinion that makes it so that we cannot press charges. We can't indict a sitting president. That makes no sense. And that opinion was formed in the time of Richard Nixon. That opinion exists so that we can have corrupt presidents. No more. We got to get rid of it. Guess what? A whole lot of MAGA folks are going to be fired up. A whole lot of MAGA folks are going to think that what they just heard is real. They're going to think, oh, well, that's why they're not busting Biden. No, they're not busting Biden for the same reason they're not going to bust Pence. Because neither of these people obstructed justice. They reached out to the National Archives and said, we have found documents, come get them. Should Biden have had national security documents in his car? No. But he acknowledged that. He turned them in. If Trump had acted the same, we would never have even heard about this. Trump took steps to deceive the government intentionally, it appears, according to this evidence that is being presented, according to the charging document. Jack Smith has reason to believe that Trump took steps to deceive the government. Biden did not do that. That is the difference between these cases. It's got nothing to do with the fact that Biden's in office. However, if Biden had acted exactly like Trump, they would be correct. Then that OLC opinion would matter. So, when I say we can work with MAGA folks on some things, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Even if they're wrong on some of their facts, they tell their lies based off of a twisting of truth. And the truth is, yeah, they couldn't touch Biden right now, even if they wanted to, even if they had reason to, which they do not. But if they did, they couldn't touch Biden. So, let's work with them. Can you imagine how effective it would be if you had a bunch of MAGA psychos with a bunch of BLM activist types standing shoulder to shoulder saying, we hate each other, and the only thing we hate more than each other is the fact that we can't charge you, Mr. President, with crimes if you did them. It would have a strong effect. So let's reach across the aisle. Let's tell them, you want to go get Biden. In fact, I've said this to them. Let's all do it. You want to go get Biden? Okay. Write the Department of Justice, go to their contact page, tell them, Office of Legal Counsel better change that opinion because it's wrong. Make a law. Make a law that clarifies that you can indeed charge a sitting president. Because you ought to be able to. Because they are not supposed to be kings.
Tonight at his club in Bedminster, do you think we'll know when his next court date will be, when he's going to have to report back there in Florida, maybe some shakeups on his legal team? Remember, that was a question you and I were talking about yesterday. He had to get jurisdictional representation before the arraignment there today, meaning...
JFJ Live, that will not fly. Fair enough.
What he needs is someone in the Southern District of Florida. States have multiple different districts. Like in New York, where I am, there's the Eastern District, the Northern District, the Southern District. Just because you're licensed in one federal district, like the Southern District of Florida, doesn't mean you're licensed in another district. And it doesn't mean a
Diana Dean.
Attorney. So I'm licensed in New York State. I'm licensed
My
in
word.
Colorado.
Much respect.
In Connecticut, but I'm only
5:30 a.m. in Australia.
courts,
Wow.
The Eastern District of New York and the Southern District of New York. What happens in federal court is you always need to have a locally licensed attorney there as basically a sponsoring attorney. Then you can have any attorney make what's called a pro hoc vice application to the courts. In English, it just means I would like to be the attorney, but I'll have a local attorney make sure I'm doing everything right on your procedure. And what we know is that Trump didn't have a lead local attorney. He had someone on his legal team even yesterday that was admitted in the Southern District of Florida, so they were fine. But what they're looking for is someone who really knows the courthouse, knows the judges, knows the part rules, knows what's going on, because procedure is a big part of the game. And the people that know the procedure of a specific courthouse like the back of their hand are the best lawyers to have on your team. Not necessarily the lead lawyer, but a very important part of your team. To the second part of your question, Andrew, the PACER system. The PACER system is the federal court system where you can learn about any active case. It's blown up. You go on the PACER system, you're going to find out when Trump's next court date is, what's going on with that, and so we're all going to know what's happening.
For the record, you need an account, and it costs money to have an account, but every local news agency has an account, so you will absolutely hear about it.
System. But yes, we're going to know his next court appearance. We're going to know when they want motions in. We're going to know what's happening and who his new attorneys are as soon as they put in their notice of appearance on the PACER system, Andrew.
Okay, Andrew, you know as well, one of the former president's main, I guess, legal maneuvers and approaches is to delay.
Surprising honesty
here. Do you anticipate that's going to be happening with his team of attorneys, that there will be motions to dismiss, motions to appeal, all of that?
I 100% expect that, and that's a big concern that people have with Eileen Cannon being the presiding judge over this, based on her history in the investigation and how she was overturned on a mistake of law by the 11th Circuit, the very conservative, unanimous 11th Circuit, said it was like outrageous, her prior decision on the investigation. I see her getting favorable decisions. In Trump's ideal situation, he can run this all the way till the time he is elected, if he's elected president. But I don't expect the delays to be that long. There are speedy trial rules in federal courts and the federal rules, and except for motions, but I do expect them to delay. I expect us to see a recusal motion. If Cannon allows all the delays to happen, you're going to see Jack Smith's office seek a recusal motion and bring that to the 11th Circuit if Cannon refuses to recuse herself, only if she's playing games and allowing these delays. But otherwise, if she's going to play by the book, we're going to have decisions. We're going to have a trial. It's all going to be done before we know who's going to be president.
Boy. Oh, boy.
All right, Andrew Lieb, we appreciate all of your expertise with this major story. You've been guiding.
That is Fox News. Breaking some harsh news to the people that think Trump is untouchable. He ain't. And this is likely, according to Fox, likely to be decided before the election. Oh, boy.
After he has pleaded not guilty to these 37 federal counts against him. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, let's go there outside the courthouse in Miami right now. Fox News' Griff Jenkins is standing by for us, and he's going to give us the lay of the land. Griff, good to see you. You've been there for the past couple of days. This is the moment where we're about to see the former President Trump's, his motorcade leave the courthouse. Who have you been speaking with? There's a lot of people still out there, isn't there?
There sure are, Andrew, and we can give you a lay of the land here in front of the courthouse. You can see it has been a peaceful day. There have been a few people that are anti-Trump. The majority are Trump supporters. It turned out several hundred to support their president, who they say was
former
wrong.
President.
Almost all of the individuals out here holding Trump signs believe that there is a two-tier system of justice. They're very upset, and they believe that President Biden is literally prosecuting the former president because he is the front runner. That is why you've got so many folks out here upset. In fact, they were just talking to some of them. Hello there. What's your name?
Rochelle.
Biden is not doing
Fox
this.
News. We're talking to Andrew, our anchor.
Biden has
and
nothing
we're
to
asking
do
people,
with this.
why did you come out here today, and how do you feel about what's going on?
It's a travesty. The entire thing is a travesty, I think, generated by the devil.
And let me ask you, some of the other candidates that are running for the GOP nomination, like Vivek Ramaswamy, has pledged, if Trump were found guilty, to pledge him. Do you believe that all the Republican candidates should make that pledge?
It's their own decision.
All right.
It's up to them. It's up to them.
So there you go. You get a little feel for, we'll walk you around a little bit more, feel for how the supporters feel about all of this. Now, there was a little bit of back and forth with a few protesters that are here that say, lock Trump up. They're Biden supporters, but a peaceful day. We know leading up to this, Andrew, that the FBI
don't want to talk to them,
were saying they've been monitoring some divisive rhetoric on this. I tweeted out that Antifa said they were going to show up, but no altercations.
Antifa.
Right now, everyone just sort of in a holding pattern. The numbers are starting to dwindle a little bit as they wait for ex-President Trump to leave. But right now, it's just sort of a hot 89 degrees out here in Miami, and a lot of folks out here that believe that the former president was wronged. That's the situation. We'll give you one more look as we turn around. You can see what looks a lot like a Trump rally. A lot of folks here with flags, particularly this one. What's your name, sir?
Dion. Just a guy named Dion.
Dion, how do you feel about what's happening here? Why are you out here today?
Extreme MAGA.
We got the best president in American history. He won twice. What's the most honest election in American history? 2016.
Nope.
No flaws. He won everything. Practically.
Russia interfered.
2020, he won 2020.
No,
Everybody
he did not.
knows he won Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan,
Negative.
Arizona.
Hey,
and
no,
they're
he
trying
did
to
not.
continue the greatest witch hunt since he came down the escalator 8 years.
So MAGA just making it crystal clear they have no idea what reality is.
America, Donald Trump.
All right, thank you very much. So that is the sentiment that we're getting out here, Andrew. We'll send it back to you.
Griff, question for you. You brought up what Vivek Ramaswamy was saying, and he is telling all of his opponents in the nominating contest to pledge to pardon Trump if they were ever elected president. What about DeSantis? Have you heard his name come up with all of those people you've spoken to? He's still the governor of that state there, yet he's running against the former president. Any words about DeSantis today there?
You know, that's a great question, Andrew, and the answer is yes. Short answer, yes. Many of these folks are obviously local. They're Floridians, and they believe a lot in their governor. Now, most are Trump supporters, but we talked to a few people that said, hey, listen, DeSantis is our follow-up candidate. And it was fascinating because Vivek
Okay, now we know where that's going. Anti-corporatist, I'm excited. I can't wait. If you do launch a channel, you're going to have a built-in fan right here, I'll tell you what.
By far in the lead, and he said he's not talking about his race today. He's talking about the injustice being done to former President Trump. But one thing I think is fair to say is for a handful of the people we spoke to today, if for some reason all of this legal matter were to cause Trump to drop out, you're going to have some very quick DeSantis fans fall in line. Andrew?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's so interesting. So is it your view that potentially once Trump leaves the courthouse there, a lot of these people are going to disperse to go home? Because like you said, it's remained largely peaceful today, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so for sure, Andrew. I mean, really, the numbers, this whole area where we were, where this gentleman was, it was wall to wall. We could not get...
Yeah, for the record, I don't give a damn what he's saying. Look, for the record, they all saw what happened with January 6th. I've been a hell of a lot less concerned about... I've been less concerned about mass violence than I have lone wolf terrorists. We certainly have to worry about MAGA terrorism. As a matter of fact, we had a right-wing inspired terrorist murder somebody in Texas just last week after calling her a slur for homosexual, and shot her. That's what I'm concerned about, but not another January 6th. And the reason why is because they saw what happened. They saw the core of MAGA. It's not truly a populist movement. It is the kind of thing where if you hench for Trump, you go to jail. You're a regular person. Rather, if you're at the income level of a regular person, and you commit crimes in Trump's name, even though he led them to believe they would be looked after just like he expects them to look after him, that's not the case. He could have pardoned. Setting aside whether it was right or wrong, he could have pardoned all the J6ers, and he didn't. He chose not to. So they know that. Even as they're out there at their little Nazi rally, even as they're out there trying to make sure America knows that they don't even want the truth investigated. All those folks out there protesting the very idea that we'd get to the bottom of something. Out there protesting the court case before they even look inside and see what's there. They know, though, if it turns to violence, they will go to prison for the violence. That is the one compliment I can truly give to Merrick Garland. He did establish that we will have law and order, at least when it comes to the non-rich, to the non-famous. Those people will be held to account. Now we need to let Jack Smith do his thing. And finally, hold a U.S. president to account. Feels unreal. I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. How about you? Oof, brutal. Let's try this. I'll tell you what, this new setup, a little harsh. There we go. Oh, mercy. So what are you guys thinking? Let's have a look at the comments here. Are more equal. Fascism wasn't new with Caesar. Yeah, true. Fair. Wicked Foxy Dragon. Why do they make Trump God? What has he done to make him worthy to be God? Nothing. Nothing. I've been musing over that, actually. It is my opinion in a cult that the weird beliefs are part of the attraction. I think you can look at the bite model and you can get scientific about all the elements of a cult that allow for those weird beliefs to grow. Like, for example, the exclusion of outside sources of information. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, truly. But I do think it glosses over the fact that all cults seem to have a really weird core set of beliefs. So the question would then be, isn't that part of it? And I think this is no different. I realize it's a politics-based cult instead of a religion-based cult for the most part. But I do think the weirdness is part of it. I think it is a group of people agreeing wordlessly with each other that they will adopt a new reality and they will choose to commit to that new reality together. And I think there is a kinship in that. I think it's got the same appeal as being an anime fan or being real into Lord of the Rings. You're going to memorize all the details and know that there's somebody else out there that's memorized all the details of this thing that feels special to you. I think that's what we're dealing with. I think we're dealing with a bunch of lonely, scared people who have seen the government, the U.S. government, be such a joke to them that they may as well make it a joke that they're telling rather than one that's being played on them. So when you're trying to talk people out of this, when you find yourself in the position of talking with a MAGA person, what I would do is include how your version of things is going to help them. It's going to be tempting. If you're watching this stream, odds are you're a lefty. It's going to be real tempting to try to talk about how it's going to help other people. How your version of things is going to help everybody. But don't. Focus it on them. And when they say, what about Joe Biden? You say, yeah, get him. I'd love to get Joe Biden. I hate Joe Biden nearly as much as you do. And I know you think you hate Joe Biden, but next week you'll be angry at somebody else over some other thing. Whereas I have a deep, deep, passionate hatred for Joe Biden and his ilk. His kind. I just don't like him. I share your hatred for Joe Biden. Perhaps exceed it. And so if you can prove that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden did something illegal, by all means, please prove it. And let's get his ass. The thing is, I don't think we can, because I don't think Joe Biden did anything illegal. I think he's done plenty that's immoral. I just don't think he broke the law. However, I do think Trump broke the law. So how about this? Let's agree to nail these punks at any opportunity, whether it's your guy or my guy, and hold them to the same standards that we would be held to. talking about Medicare? Talk about their health care bills. Say, you won't have to worry. Under what I want to do, I know, you say we should have private, yada, yada, yada. But we've seen the outcomes, and I'm telling you, your health care will be cheaper, including the increase you will pay in taxes. Your health care will be cheaper. Your family's health care will be cheaper, and it will be better if you go for Medicare for all. I think that's how to talk to these folks. Try that again. Every time you tell them what you want to do differently, what the lefty path is different from the MAGA path, make sure to connect it to how it's going to help them specifically. And the great news is the numbers back up the points you're going to be making. And you're not going to have to get them to memorize a whole fantastical story. It's just a simple cause and effect. It's simple numbers. You can point to them. And generally speaking, if a progressive believes it, it's at the resistance of every single other political group trying their damnedest, which means we've got an ironclad case. JFJ Live, whose main goal in all things is to collect wealth and distribute liabilities, period. Interesting. BO says, my pee is wonky. Noted. Are More Equal says, when good people don't pay attention, evil people rob from those good people. Yes. Douglas Connors, hello, sir. Looking at a max of 35, 10 years for the willful retention and mishandling, 5 years for making false statements, and 20 for obstruction. Yeah. If this ends up being served consecutively, that would be the max for sure. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to call it concurrent no matter what it is. So it would really be max 20, but it's functionally the same. Mercy me. JFJ Live, I like seeing Jake happy and love seeing Glenn Kirshner happy. Yeah, Glenn Kirshner has a sort of warm energy that I really dig. Yeah, I'll try to keep this happy train going. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. I had a blast, but if you saw the beginning of the stream, you know I got a whole lot of tech problems to fix before we do the second one. I'll keep an eye on this. If anything interesting happens, if it's anything other than just a shot of Trump skulking away, I'll do a breaking report on it. But it's looking like Trump pled not guilty, and then he's going to scurry back to Mar-a-Lago for an announcement where he says what we always knew he'd say. It's a bunch of lies. I did nothing wrong. Joe Biden, Kamala, yada, yada, socialist. Same old nonsense. But it is now including the fact that Jack Smith has finally demonstrated that the law applies to Donald Trump as well. At the federal level. Ooh, mercy me. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been WYCD Wicked, doing a live stream on a 2 for Tuesday, watching Trump's ass get arraigned. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, terrible.